How to persuade an atheist to become a Christian. I wonder how that's going to go. Believe it or not, it's not all bad. Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I'm an atheist and skeptic, and today we are back on Wikihow looking at advice for persuading atheists to become Christians. Not just believe in God, but full-on become a Christian. And having read through, I have to say, this is not all bad in terms of giving advice. But one of the things I find interesting about this Wikihow is how much reassurance is given to Christians. Almost as if the author is afraid contact with an atheist will make them go astray. We've looked at Leah Hewen before on how to believe in God. She's a therapist and she has a lot of Christian content on Wikihow, so I might be back looking at her. So as you might have read in the title, this is a re-upload. In the original, I played with a pitch change setting that everyone but me hated. The most positive comments I got on the audio was that it was not that bad. So I scrapped that video. Without discussing how the video sausage gets made here at Scarlett Industries, but for those of you wondering, I did not create that particular vocal effect. Those are defaults when you click one button. I didn't play with the reverb or anything. I originally thought it would be a real pain to redo the video, but it turned out not to be that big a deal. I had the raw audio and was able to revert it to a neutral setting, and the length of each segment was about the same, so viola, it was a quick redo, like laddering down in knitting, if you've ever knitted something and dropped a stitch. And I think the way I read the text and the way I comment sounds different enough to keep the distinction, so hopefully you can tell when I'm reading and when I'm commenting even if you're not looking at the video. I've only left in one vocal effect for questions. It's quick. You might hate it, but again, it is very brief. One thing I have to say, people say the internet is a mean place, but I didn't feel like any of the comments were mean to me personally. Everyone was frank that audio sucks, and message received y'all, but several people seemed to appreciate my attempt at experimentation, and people told me specifically what they didn't like about the audio. So much love to all of you for bringing the critique without the ugly criticism. So enough blibbity blab, let's see how we atheists might be persuaded. Talking about Christianity with an atheist can be a difficult experience. Some atheists are deeply opposed to religion. Some find it uninteresting, and others respect it as a different lifestyle. If you want to talk about religion with an atheist, it's important to choose your words and actions with care and compassion. While you may be unable to persuade them, it's possible that you could show them a side of Christianity they've never experienced. I'm curious about this show them a side of Christianity they haven't experienced. I wonder what Leah has in mind. I have the impression she thinks Christians can give a positive experience that atheists wouldn't be aware of. I guess it would depend on the atheist, but I think most of us are aware that Christians come in different shapes and forms. Some good, some bad, everybody in between. I do like that Leah recognizes atheists are different and have different motivations and thoughts. I'm always appreciative when someone realizes we're not a monolith. By the way, Wikihow has these little cartoons in all their pages, and I just love looking at them. Here, our part 1 on considering your choices has this woman going from crossed out cross to just the cross. Is this the Christian or the atheist? Does it matter? All right, let's see the advice. Number 1, look at your reasoning. Why do you want to convert this person? Be honest with yourself. How do you feel about atheists? And why do you feel that converting an atheist person would be a good idea? Do you want to have a dialogue or a one-sided conversation in which they admit you're right? Are you able to make peace with it if they say no? These are solid questions, and I think we all have that fantasy dialogue in our head where someone listens to us amazed and realizes the error of their ways, like we're in a courtroom and there's a judge passing judgment. But that's not a good way to get into a conversation. And by the way, I do feel like a lot of preaching is that, a one-sided diatribe. Even when apologists listen, they're often looking for a way to twist the words to suit their purposes. So I approve of getting clarity on what a person wants from this interaction. Bullet 1. Are you simply wanting to be close to them? Try non-religious ways to hang out with the person, like taking walks, going to parks, or attending non-religious events, such as concerts. Does Leah mean don't bother trying to convert them, just like a human? Because that sounds good to me. Bullet 2. Are you worried about whether they're going to heaven? Atheists can be good people who do things that God admires, so beware of painting them as less than or more sinful than you. We are all wretched sinners, deserving of eternal punishment, but the difference is that you have chosen to live in the grace of God. Wonder what flavor of Christian Leah is, because a lot of Christians would say that you need to accept Jesus to get into heaven. Even if God admires atheists, which, what does that even mean? Will he let them into heaven? Not according to most Christians. And I love the little reminder of everyone's sinful nature and reinforcement that the Christian lives in the grace of God. Kind of like, keep believing in God. Don't be like the atheist you're trying to convert. Remember, we're all sinful. Just little reminders like that. Bullet 3. Are you wanting them to admit that you are right and they are wrong? This is a foolish and prideful reason to try and convert someone. Spend some serious time in prayer while examining your heart before you move any further. They will also not respond well to being proven wrong, rather than a gentle and live-it-out approach, so don't waste your time. I agree that this is foolish, but I would also ask the question, how can you be so sure that you are right? On what basis? This suggestion to pray is another insertion to convince the believer that they are right, at least in my opinion. Final bullet. Are you looking for an open-ended discussion that may or may not result in conversion? This may go well. Ask if they are open to it. Best suggestion, but I would add that the Christian should also take that time to see if their beliefs stand up to scrutiny. It should be open-ended for the Christian too. 2. Consider each of your actions and their consequences. Trying to convince someone of your beliefs may cause them not to like you and may even impact your relationship. Be mindful of how your behavior affects others and seek to speak the truth in love rather than prove yourself right. Remember, no one has ever been argued into the kingdom of heaven. Good advice, but once again, an insertion that the Christian is speaking the truth. It seems like you should be able to lay out evidence and argue someone to the truth of what you're saying. Sounds to me like Christianity does not stand up to rational scrutiny. Bullet 1. Be cautious about jeopardizing work relationships. Proselytizing at work could get in the way of a peaceful work environment. Yeah, I would say don't do this at all. It might even be against your office rules. Bullet 2. Remember that Christ-like love does not necessarily equal all-encompassing approval. You can allow them to believe what they want to believe. However, stand firm. You do not have to adopt their beliefs or affirm their sin in order to effectively love them. Even if they believe in something you know is wrong, don't try to condemn them. State your opinion in love. If/when they begin a relationship with the Lord, He and He alone will be responsible for changing their anti-biblical beliefs or practices. Is it your opinion, or do you know this? How can you be sure that what they believe is wrong? Frankly, this all sounds like projection. Christians can't know their God exists, much less the rest of their theology. It's all a leap of faith and opinion. I also find it interesting that she has to put in this insistence on staying firm in your beliefs, that the other person definitely has the wrong belief. It sounds like she has a concern that the atheist might actually make the more convincing case. And LOL about God changing anybody ever. Pull the other one. Final bullet. Inviting people to join you may sometimes be appropriate. Pestering rarely is. If they say no after you invite them to a religious thing once or twice, stop asking. This is the best piece of advice someone has given in this regard. Leave people alone. It's my favorite part of this. This t-shirt is also good. Don't demonize. 3. Judge not. Atheists can still be good people who do good things and reap the benefits of their goodness. Good values aren't exclusive to Christianity or to any religion at all. However, access to God and the gift of the Holy Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit, and entry into heaven are. Recognize atheism may simply be what makes them happy. I think it's funny she says atheism makes someone happy. Please let me know in the comments if your atheism makes you happy and why. To me, it's just a label that applies to my lack of belief, and it's only important for me because we are surrounded by theists. But it doesn't make me happy. Things that make me happy? Being with the people around me, engaging in interesting activities, my kitties, learning new things. Atheism just means I don't see any of that through a religious lens or worry about what a deity wants. But hey, points for recognizing that atheists can have good values, right? Bullet 1. Although we have a caring and loving God who delights when we serve Him, our good deeds are filthy rags in His holy sight, and they cannot help us earn our way into heaven. Isaiah 64:6. He, being rich in mercy, paved us the way to Him through His Son, and took the punishment that we ourselves received. Nothing we do can earn us into heaven, since we are, by nature, sinful. Some preaching here. Well, this won't help you convince any atheists, but it's just keeping the Christian mindful of how terrible they are and how God has all the power. Loving and caring? Go talk to Job. Bullet 2. Catholics may want to keep in mind that Pope Francis has said that atheists can go to heaven if they have a good heart. Take note that this is contrary to the Protestant Christian belief that we are saved by grace, through faith alone, with our works as filthy rags. Woot! Recognition that Catholics are Christians. Nothing else to say here, more preaching. 4. Consider why the person is an atheist. Different atheists have different reasons why they aren't religious. Some are unsure about the decision, which means they might be open to hearing your perspective, while others are certain about what they want and what they believe. I like that she asks Christians to put themselves in the shoes of someone else. Points for that. Also, another recognition that atheism is not a monolith. Very cool. Bullet 1. They think there's no logical reason to believe in God. These people are driven by logic, so convincing them to base decisions on faith is unlikely to work. So I guess this is an admission that faith is not based on logic? Otherwise, she'd have something like that here. Bullet 2. They never understood the appeal of religion. Sometimes they'll be open to learning more, but other times they won't feel like it's a good time. Avoid rushing them. Kudos for saying to shut up. Don't proselytize. Respect the person who isn't ready. Bullet 3. They were hurt by the church or see the church hurting others. People who see the church causing harm, e.g. covering up sexual abuse or bullying LGBT+ people, may question whether religious institutions are truly good. Some people are open to finding churches that better embrace good values, while others leave religion for good. It depends on the person. Next bullet. They are angry at God for allowing bad things to happen. This can happen after personal trauma. Sometimes they return to faith after seeing the good in life, and other times they break from religion forever. It is important to give them time to process without trying to push them. Again, I like that she's telling people to back off if someone doesn't want to be preached at. I know that this is about persuading atheists, but it seems like Leah just shrugs off churches that hurt people. A moment ago, she posited this loving, caring God, but she's not interested in reconciling that view of God with the bad behavior in churches. It's just individuals doing bad things, because they're sinful beings, I guess, and God has no input or ability to change things. 5. Consider whether your arguments are rational or faith-based. Someone who has based their decisions purely on rationality is unlikely to be swayed by emotional reasoning. Bullet point. It's okay to make decisions based on emotion and faith. If you feel that Christianity gives your life spiritual meaning, emotional comfort, or a sense of community, then that is a good enough reason to be Christian. Just remember that not everyone has had or is receptive to accounts of encounters like that, so do not use your personal testimony as the sole backing for your faith. It's funny that she doesn't make any case for a rational approach. A moment ago, she mentioned faith, which is not rational. And once again, this is more about reassuring the wannabe defender of Christianity that they are correct. You don't need logic or reason for any of this to be true if it makes you feel good. And yeah, personal testimony ain't great. It serves to reinforce people's faith, but nearly all testimony I hear is BS. Won't convince me. 6. Put yourself in your friend's shoes. Consider how you would respond if someone were attempting to persuade you to reject your salvation in Christ. You would want them to listen if you were to say no to them, and accept it if you didn't agree with them at the end. Speak to them the way you'd want to be spoken to. Bullet point. Nobody wants to be judged. Speak from a place of Christ-like love and friendship, not judgment. Keep your kindness unconditional, even if you disagree. This is great advice for anything, really. Consider who you're talking to, and yes to non-judgment. 7. Focus on living in peace with someone who is determined to be an atheist. This is their choice to make, and you should not waste your time trying to fight it. Instead, show them unconditional kindness and friendship without trying to change them. Yes! 10 out of 10, no notes. Part 2 is on approaching the subject. Let's see what this is. 1. Choose a good place and time. The conversation should be one-on-one, and it should be during a relaxed time when nobody needs to hurry to go somewhere else. It should happen in a private or semi-private place, like at home, at a coffee shop, at a park, or during a walk around the neighborhood. Bullet point. You don't want to make someone feel embarrassed, blindsided, or trapped. If they look awkward, drop the idea. Fine, nothing to add. 2. Bring up the subject and ask if they are interested. This allows them to gracefully decline if they would prefer not to talk about it and gives them an opportunity to start expressing their thoughts and ideas if they are in the mood. Some people feel awkward or uncomfortable talking about religion, especially since religious discussion can result in heated debates or hurt feelings. Bullet 1. For example, you could say, "I've been thinking a lot about religion lately, and I was wondering if you feel like talking about it." Bullet 2. Respond gracefully if they say no. Don't push. If they say no to you several different times, assume it means they are very shy about religion and don't like talking about it, so it's best to stop asking. Again, I like the advice to drop the topic and to stop talking about it. 3. Keep your mind and heart open at all times. If the person feels ambushed or attacked, they'll shut down and have no interest in what you have to say. Thus, try to keep an open and friendly tone without pressure for them to act a certain way. You want them to be comfortable with you. Again, I love the suggestion of being non-judgmental, understanding, and non-forceful. Really, these should be discussions, not a one-way conversation. 4. Know when it's best to leave it alone. Not every atheist is open to being converted, and it's important to make peace with this. Don't whine, wheedle, or browbeat your way through a conversation that someone else doesn't want to have. Bullet 1. If someone says, "I don't like talking about religion," then stop bringing up religion. Bullet 2. If you offer to talk about religion a few times and they say no each time, that pattern may mean something. Stop bringing it up, or ask, "I've noticed that you've declined each time I asked you about religion. Is it a topic you're uncomfortable with?" Then stop if they say yes. Preach! Irony alert. In all seriousness, I think this is the psychologist training talking here, knowing that you can't force someone to change, but really overall this is great. Part 3, talking and listening. Number 1, tell your friend what your Christianity means to you. Explain how religion has influenced your life, both for you as a person and for your relationships in the world around you. Keep the conversation focused on the tools that following God's Son gives you. Reasons you might like being a Christian include, I guess the emphasis shouldn't be on how you know God exists and why you think it's the correct way to follow God. By the way, that footnote does not lead to great tools. It's a list compiled by an atheist of things that would convince them, and it more or less says that religions fail by a long shot. I'll link it in the description below, but you'll see it doesn't support what she's proposing here. I do love this drawing. That looks less like a cross and a plus side, and I can't help think that this guy is actually saying math for me is, and maybe he's a Terrence Howard follower who thinks 1 × 1 = 2. You never know. 1. You like being part of a community centered on good values. You appreciate the reminder to be your best self. You feel that religion helps you connect to a higher purpose. You find that the concept of an afterlife comforting. Ooh, bad grammar. So, emotional reasons. Got it. By the way, that's the second number 1. Maybe it's just to show it's part of the same topic. There was an ellipses and it was divided by a picture. So, there you go. 2. Don't try to debate about logic or the Bible. Believing in God is a fundamentally illogical choice because you are choosing to have faith in a power beyond what you know. It's a leap of the heart. It's best to acknowledge this and focus on the emotional power of faith. I'm imagining my heart leaping, little hurdles or maybe skipping. Would this help keep my blood pressure down? I'll ask my doctor. A little while ago, Leah thought you might have a rational reason for being a Christian, but I guess that has nothing to do with the Bible? I wonder if any believers would note this back and forth between pretending there might be something rational and the emphasis on the emotional aspect. It really stands out to me. But mainly I think this is here for believers. You should focus on the emotional, on the leap of faith, your heart, right? I mean, there could be a logical reason, but don't worry your pretty little head about it. Bullet 1. Many Christians have very different relationships with the Bible, and you may be quite knowledgeable about Bible study and the history of the document. Conversely, many Christians emphasize a personal relationship with Christ as the fundamental aspect of their being blessed in Christ. Bullet 2. Some atheists refuse to believe in things they don't have evidence for. Chalk it up to a difference in priorities and agree to disagree. LOL, different priorities. I want to believe things that are likely true, and you want to have a leap of the heart, a leap of faith, and pretend it's the truth. Classic. 3. Take time to truly listen to them and understand where they're coming from. You don't just want to lecture them. Ask about their experiences, ideas, and opinions. Accept that they're coming from a different place than you are. Bullet point. Don't make assumptions about how they feel about atheism. Not all atheists are angry at God. Lapsed believers are upset about their lack of belief. Listen to how they say they feel and believe them. Again, appreciate that she says atheists are diverse, and I would add that it's not just not all atheists are not angry, but most atheists are not angry at God because they don't believe in Him. And why would you be upset that you don't believe? That is such a Christian way to approach this. I don't have a feeling about that one way or another. 4. Be kind. Avoid condemnations or threats of hellfire. This is likely to drive a person away from faith. And you. Share the best of Christianity instead of pushing negativity. Let them see the good in religion. Agree, although I will tell you, if I see a good Christian, I think the person is a good person, whether or not they have a religion. I'm not saying, oh, look, there's a good person, it must be the Christianity. It's that's a good person. 5. Let your friend ask questions and express their own opinions. Your friend may be curious about your beliefs, especially if they weren't raised as a Christian. And if this person feels comfortable with you, this will lead to questioning and challenging you. The less defensive you are, the more reasonable you seem. Be comfortable in your faith in God and remain calm. If you're having fun, the other person will too. I would go so far as to say less defensiveness is a sign that you've thought through your beliefs and are comfortable with difference. Bullet point. If your friend constantly wants to discuss Bible fallacies or can God make a mountain God can't move types of questions, don't engage in debate. All you need to say is, that's not possible to know, and I'm comfortable with that. It doesn't make me any less of a believer. Again, I guess logic is just not an interesting direction for the conversation. You don't have responses to biblical fallacies? Even your third-rate apologist has some dumb explanation. Also note that Leah assumes Christianity is true. There is no room in this discussion for any real open-mindedness on the part of believers. Just reassure yourself that you're fine. The next part is on keeping the dialogue open, and we're assuming, I guess, that the atheist has said no. 1. Walk the walk. This is the most crucially important step in converting others. If you're going to talk a big game about how great your life as a Christian is, you've got to prove it with your actions. Demonstrate love with your own life. The Bible tells us not to try and entice people with words, but to demonstrate the Spirit and power. Some atheists are atheists because of their often justified perception that Christians are hypocritical, but you know they're not all that way. Prove it. This section is more aimed at reassuring the believer. I don't think you should do this to prove you're not hypocritical. You should just do it. Bullet 1. Don't limit your kindness to your prayers. Go out, help others, make friends, and be there for people who are having a hard time. Bullet 2. Even if your friend has declined conversations about faith and is determined to stay an atheist, do not stop being Christ-like. Sometimes that is exactly what it takes to shut up and start living like Jesus did. Again, I do like the advice to shut up and go away. Go live your life. You don't even have to live like Jesus did, cursing fig trees or raising people from the dead. Just go do something else. 2. Invite your friend to come with you to church. The best way to introduce atheists to your religion is by treating it like you would any social function. Emphasize the fellowship and the camaraderie and invite them to a non-service function, like a dinner or a cookout. Bullet 1. If you invite an atheist to a religious function, tell them that it is a religious function. Don't try to trick someone into attending by pretending that it is not. And bullet 2, respect a no. Not everyone is open to changing their minds about religion, so don't try to force things. Yes to respecting the no, and yes to not tricking someone. Solid advice. I don't know what the point of this drawing is. It looks like a dude saying the Pledge of Allegiance, but maybe he has indigestion from one of those church picnics. 3. Be patient. See if this person develops any interest in attending your place of worship. You may extend an invitation to attend church with you, but it would be best if your friend comes along due to their own curiosity, feeling comfortable and in control. Don't push too hard. The more your friend has to come to you, the more invested they'll be in the result. Bullet point. Change must come from within. You can't motivate someone to become Christian. They must want it for themselves. This is the therapist in Leah talking again, but I do like that she continuously says to let people be who they are and not judge. 4. Recognize when to let go. Not every atheist can be convinced to become a Christian. If a person is resistant to the idea, don't waste your time by pushing more and more. Instead, let it go. They will come back to you or another Christian if they change their mind. Focus on ways you can make a real difference in other ways. Amen. Let it go, let it go. Be that cartoon woman from Frozen and let it go. 5. Keep any prayers for your friend private. Like Jesus, pray with the door closed. If you tell an unhappy atheist that you will pray for them, they may feel insulted because of the unsaid implication that you are praying for them to change their minds. If God chooses to answer your prayer, it will happen, whether the atheist knows about it or not. Hard agree. No one needs to know that you're praying. Again, love, love, love the advice to shut up. Bonus, there are some questions. Let's see.
Why are atheists so mean?
Don't generalize. Just because some atheists were mean to you doesn't mean all of them are mean. Perhaps you were trying to force your beliefs on them, something which no one appreciates. Most people are not interested in being converted. Instead of actively trying to convert people, try just being a good person. You'll get a much better response. Love the encouragement not to generalize and for people to just go about their lives. Maybe you provoked the mean atheist. Did you ever think of that?
Is atheism a belief system?
Atheism is better defined as a lack of belief. Most atheists choose not to believe in something they have no evidence for, and the choice is logical more than emotional. All atheists are different, and they don't necessarily share beliefs beyond, I don't think God is real. Besides saying it is a choice, this is a pretty solid answer. And once again, I think this is an admission that religion is not logical. So there you go, that's the Wikihow, How to Persuade an Atheist. On the plus side, there's a lot of suggestions to shut up, to leave people alone, to drop the conversation if they don't want it, to stop judging people, love, 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 all of that. I'm also pleased to see that Leah depicts atheists as normal humans with good values and reasons why they do what they do. I don't think I saw strawmanning or overgeneralization. Pretty good. Leah's psychology training is probably responsible for understanding people come from different perspectives, and also that you can't force change on them. On the negative side, there's no indication that Christians should listen to atheists or evaluate why atheists believe the way they do. Leah presumes that her side has the truth, and she has embedded a lot of little reminders that Christians need to hold on to their beliefs and not be enticed by atheists. And I think there's a little bit of an admission that there could be something that pulls people away from these irrational beliefs. But can you imagine if atheists had any kind of manual like this? That instead of telling people to examine beliefs and evidence, we just deployed a bunch of rationalizations for why we need to remain atheists? Well, maybe someone thinks that that's what this video is, convincing atheists to stay firm. But that's not what I'm telling you to do. You should go out and you should think about these things. And I've just never seen any atheists do something like that, like stay firm in your atheism. It's always evaluate the beliefs, evaluate the evidence for those beliefs, and make your own determination. So there you go. What stood out to you in this wiki how to persuade atheists? Put it in the comments below. While you're down there, you can like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuffing. We love it when you do the YouTube stuffing. My kitties love it when you do the YouTube stuffing. Algorithmo and his consort Algorithma really thrive off of those YouTube stuffings. And if you like what I do, you can buy me a coffee. That link is also in the description below, and I will see you next time for something completely different. Bye for now.